Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed learning from some of the Evolving Solutions team members on where we are on our hybrid cloud journey and how we're engaging with clients and investing for the future. I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker. Matt Watts is the Chief Technical Evangelist for NetApp. In Matt's role, he provides guidance on NetApp's overall strategy and technology solutions to a wide base of clients in the global business partner community. Matt's also part of the international leadership team at NetApp, and he provides advice and guidance on technology and transformation and helping the organization move forward. Matt is increasingly in demand as a keynote speaker and has a great way of combining his knowledge of the IT industry with some anecdotes, some stories, some humor, some wit, and really helps clients understand technology and where it's going in an easy to understand way. And I think you'll really enjoy listening to him today. Prior to his current role, Matt led significant IT transformation projects for clients around the world. He managed teams of technologists that have helped clients with installations, on-site support, and really helping them oversee their technology transformations, and has managed several significant IT outsourcing contracts for clients. This experience has given Matt a unique ability to understand technology across organizations and across client sets, and really has helped him understand and help clients with their technology transformation. So Matt is joining us live from the UK, and Matt, we appreciate you joining us today, and thank you for being here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Bo. And yeah, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak to everybody today. And to back up what Bo said, what an eloquent introduction. I spend all of my time with companies, organizations across the world in different industries and with our partners. So a lot of what I want to share with you today is my kind of thoughts, the things that I hear as I meet with all of these different companies, what is kind of happening out there. So, hopefully there'll be something of interest in here for you. But I wanted to start off with thinking about, I call it the kind of pace of change. And as a kind of a technologist, as a bit of a geek, I guess a self-confessed geek, I love watching how fast technology changes. And I think one of my observations over the last few years is that quite often we're so immersed in the day-to-day of what's happening in the IT industry that sometimes we don't truly understand or maybe appreciate just how quickly it's moving. When you're living in this world every single day and things are just naturally progressing, it's not until you step out of it and kind of look back that you suddenly get an appreciation for just how significantly things have actually changed. And I think one of the things I've realized is it's healthy to do that, to step out every so often and think of something that's personal to you. And for me, my personal is this. Now, obviously, this is a music festival, but many of you won't know what music festival this is. It's Glastonbury. This is my spiritual heaven. Glastonbury Music Festival is one of the largest festivals in Europe. It's certainly the largest festival in the UK. And what you're looking at here is a festival of about 250,000 people. Now, for 360 days of the year, this is just a field full of cows. And for 5 days of the year, the festival turns up, 250,000 people turn up, and the festival takes place. Now, I've been going to this festival for, I'm going to admit my age now, but I saw David Bowie headline this festival, so let's leave it at that. But that's not the point of what I wanted to talk about. The point that I wanted to talk about was that going back to the first time I went to Glastonbury, the process to get a ticket, because there wasn't a lot of technology at the time, the process to get a ticket was that they chose a number of different shops, different outlets, and you had a course of probably months in order to find the shops that had the tickets, to go and get your tickets and to secure your place at Glastonbury. And I took about a decade off. The next time that I decided I wanted to go to Glastonbury, it was still the same company doing the ticketing, but this time the tickets went on sale on a Sunday morning, 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and you picked up the phone. And you had probably 2 or 3 days of hitting the redial button, desperately trying to get through to secure that kind of golden ticket for Glastonbury. Then I rolled forward to the last time I went, which unfortunately was a couple of years ago because of the pandemic that we found ourselves in. But the last time I went, again, the same company ticketing Glastonbury. Tickets went on sale at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, online. By 22 minutes past 9 o'clock on the same Sunday morning, 250,000 tickets have been sold. 250,000 credit card transactions have been processed. And in that 22 minutes, 2.5 million people attempted to get a ticket. This is why we have the cloud. For 22 minutes of the year, this company that ticket Glastonbury, their workload goes to here. And then for the rest of the year, it probably drifts at around 20, 30, 40% of that. So just something as simple as a music festival and the company that ticketed a music festival, as you start to look back over the last 10 or 20 years at how much technology has changed, I think it's little things like that that suddenly make you appreciate this is why we have cloud, different consumption models. This is why we're seeing the pace of change that we're seeing. And it's everything. You know, a very simple example, bring it back down to something very, very concrete, very, very tangible. Today, the largest solid state drive that you can buy, I know this stuff, I'm a geek, part of what NetApp do is storage, of course, but the largest solid state drive you can buy is a 30.6 terabyte solid state disk. We don't call it a 30.6, we call it a 30, because frankly, the 0.6 is a waste of words, it's a rounding error. If I take you back 5 years ago, the largest one you could buy was a 400 gigabyte solid state drive. That is now smaller than the rounding error that we don't even mention on the one that we ship today. We have qualified the 60, 61.2. We know that the 120 will come in the next year, and we will have in the next 2 to 3 years, 1/4 of a petabyte of storage on something the size of your mobile phone. When we're living in this world, this change just happens around us, and I don't know if maybe we appreciate just how significant it is. When you step back, you step out of it, you suddenly start to see the pace of change that we're going through. So what I wanted to talk about in the next sort of 20 minutes was the trends that we're seeing in the industry, some of the things that I'm witnessing, how that's meaning IT is evolving within the companies that I talk to, and a little bit about how I think we can be better prepared for this, and how do we plan for this for the future. So I think I've seen 3 significant waves within IT. The job of all of us, especially companies like Evolving Technologies and ourselves, is to look for what do we think the next wave is going to be and what's our role going to be in that wave. And if you get it right, you pick a wave as it's starting to build, and you bring value and capabilities and interesting technologies or interesting opportunities into that wave, and you help companies be able to take it on and to be able to benefit from it. The first wave for me, when I came into the IT industry, was very much bare metal infrastructure. And I know the innovation was around speeds and feeds and densities and features and functions. And that wave doesn't go away. It hasn't gone away. We're still seeing companies looking at investing in how do you modernize existing technology platforms. And those characteristics are important when you're thinking about SAP or SAP HANA or Oracle or some of these high performance, highly resilient type applications. But a new wave formed as we came into the 2000s and changed the landscape of IT, and it was virtualization. And all of us, whether that's us as technology vendors or you as consumers and users of technology, moved to focus on that wave because we realized that it could do things for us. It could create efficiency, create agility, new possibilities. And now we're well into the 3rd wave. And the 3rd wave is cloud. And it's cloud in all of its different guises. It's public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid multi-cloud, because we love to smash these terms together and invent new ones to keep you all on your toes. But what we've been doing and what we all have to do is look at, well, what do these waves mean to us? The ones we've been through don't go away, but the ones that are forming are the ones that have the greatest potential for us, that offer us the greatest opportunity. Some of you are probably thinking, is there a 4th wave? I think so. I think it's a little bit early. I think AI is probably the 4th wave, but an aspect of a wave for me is democratization. And until you can truly democratize a capability, a technology, or what it means within a wave, until it's truly democratized, I don't believe it's really a wave that's formed. I think right now AI is getting there. We have the technology. I think we're lacking in the skills to make it something that could be truly accessible to any company in any industry. But watch this space as vendors, as providers, as partners. It's something that we're all looking at. We're all creating solutions around, and with the anticipation that it could well become a way for the future. And how significant is it? Well, I love putting up analyst quotes and statistics and kind of percentages, and I'll give you this quick caveat. Somebody once said to me, statistics are like a drunk person leaning against a broken lamppost. It feels good for support, but never really sheds any light on anything. So I'm always aware when I show statistics that people can be a little bit skeptical or cynical of them. These are big numbers. So let's assume these are wrong. Let's assume the analysts are 10% out. That's still 83% and 77% of companies looking at multi-cloud strategies or hybrid cloud strategies. And what I think is really interesting about the cloud, and as we've kind of gone through these waves, there are a lot of characteristics that we've dealt with that have kind of been exhibited. In that first bare metal kind of infrastructure wave, it was a lot about consolidation, efficiencies, simplifying management. How did virtualization take off? Many of you would have been there. The reason virtualization took off was it offered the same promise for the servers. All of those underutilized servers that you had clogging up your data centers, virtualization was the promise of dramatically increasing server utilization and reducing costs. It's not why we kept it though. What virtualization evolved into was a highly automated platform that gave us speed and agility. It arrived because it helped us reduce cost. It stayed because it helped us to do something new or to do something faster than we could have done it before. It's the same with the cloud. In fact, the cloud is interesting because we looked at it the same way, thinking the cloud's the next way we're going to save money. No. The cloud is not always about saving money. There are opportunities to save money in the cloud, but that shouldn't be the reason. That should not be the primary reason you look at it. The cloud is about speed and agility and flexibility. You're giving the ultimate freedom to the people who've always wanted it, the developers, the application owners, the scientists. You're giving them the freedom to be able to do what they need to do when they need to do it, and consume from a near limitless pool of compute and storage resources. And the benefits have been huge. What we've seen in terms of the kind of acceleration of the pace of change of companies over the last 12 to 18 months has been staggering. A lot of it driven by what cloud computing has enabled. But where there's a positive, there's always I don't want to say it's a negative, but I'm going to say maybe it is in this case. Cloud spend is out of control. It's out of control because we've been okay, because we've been benefiting from the speed, the agility, the freedom that we've given these groups to move our businesses forward at pace, to make us competitive. Now we're starting to look at how much this is costing us. We bought a company called Spot fairly recently. It was a recent acquisition about 9 months ago. And Spot is I'm not going to go into lots of details, but Spot is about optimizing the compute resources in the cloud. It's about making sure that what you're using is absolutely optimized, not just you've bought a huge server and you're using 5% of it. We're about optimizing it. We benefited from the cloud. Our software development is all done inside the cloud, and our acceleration, the pace of change inside NetApp has been staggering over the last 18 to 24 months. When we brought Spot in and put it into our engineering function, the developers didn't really know it was there. There was no impact on our availability. It started dynamically optimizing the amount of compute we were using at the back end, and it reduced our cloud compute spend by 73%. That is not unusual. We are seeing typically, as companies are starting now to look at how much are we actually spending on cloud, it is often in excess of 60, 70, 80, and I've heard it as high as 90% wastage in terms of what's been spent on cloud resources. So the world has changed. It absolutely is about, all the things that we've looked at before. Waves 1 and waves 2 don't go away, but waves 3, yes, we still need to think about security and protection and all of these characteristics, but now we need to think about cost. And FinOps and these new groups are arriving aggressively within the companies I'm talking to, because this level of spend is not 10%, it's not 20%, it's 70%. And that can't continue. And then we think about data explosion. You know, NetApp are a data company at our heart, although we're doing a lot around insights and optimization. What's happening with data? Well, we're still seeing traditional business systems, traditional kind of systems of record, file services are still creating large amounts of data, and we'll deal with them with wave 1, wave 2 type technologies. And increasingly, we'll look to the cloud at OneDrive and storage as a service to be able to service some of these things as well. But the explosion, the reason that we're now talking about petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, yottabytes, if you will, is not for these reasons. It's for these reasons. It's these new, if you want to call them digital transformation initiatives, AI, IoT, augmented reality, that are floating out across all industries. I love the augmented virtual reality one. You know, here's a statistic for you, which is depressing when you're a speaker. 20% is what people remember. So when I give you a presentation, you'll remember less than 20% of what I told you. If I were to do a demo, you'd remember maybe 40% of that. If I were to immerse you in an augmented or virtual reality experience, you would remember up to 80% of that. So you think about that from an education perspective, you think about that from oil rigs, there's so many use cases, you know, and then we think about genomics. It cost us billions to sequence the genome back in the day. Now we have companies like 23andMe and Ancestry who are sequencing the genome for commercial purposes. They will tell you what your ancestry is, they will tell you where you came from, they will tell you about your DNA, and they'll do it for $100, right? Those things are creating massive quantities of data, and we've got to think differently about how we deal with them. So the way we see the emerging models, the way I'm seeing this play out in the companies that I talk to, we already said this. There will continue to be a modernization of legacy platforms. You know, how do we do what we currently do bigger, better, faster, cheaper, you know, more efficiently, you know, all of those kind of things. There's an awful lot of technologies that are not going to go to the cloud anytime soon. A lot of those will stay on premises. Many of those will go to service providers. We've certainly seen a real uptick in companies that aggressively want to pursue a data center reduction or a data center kind of shutdown sort of strategy. And there's a lot of stuff in there that does not belong in Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, but it has to go somewhere. So we've very much seen companies looking at how do we micro outsource parts of the data center that are not really appropriate for the big public clouds. It is going to be increasingly difficult for you to buy software, because the companies that are writing modern applications don't want to sell it to you. They want to sell you a subscription to their software. Office 365, Salesforce, SAP, if you think about a lot of these modern applications, you don't buy them and install them and run them yourself, you buy them and consume them as an operating model. It's done for several reasons. It's easier for a company to maintain software if they're delivering it to you as a service. And also companies that create significant recurring revenues have a higher market valuation. So it's in their own selfish interests not to sell you software that you install. We're seeing mobility as a requirement. And what I mean by mobility across clouds is that it's changed over the last 12 to 18 months. Now what I'm starting to hear from people is, I want to use the cloud that I think is most appropriate for the use case that I've got. And I don't want it to be black and white, because it's not. It's all shades of gray. But people look at Microsoft and think, that's my enterprise cloud, my analytics cloud. Then I've got AWS because the developers love AWS, and we've got Google because they're great at AI. It's not as simple as that, but people want choice. They want to know that if I'm working with Amazon today, then if Google turns out to be a better proposition for a service for the future, I want to know that I can do that as well. Building internal private clouds is clearly going to be a big focus going forward, simplifying what remains on premises. And then I think the big shift has been microservices. We made it 17.5 minutes in without me talking about Kubernetes. I've done it now. The big shift that I've seen here again over the last 12 to 18 months is Kubernetes has gone from being experimental, gone from being kind of skunkworks projects where I would ask people and they'd say, oh yeah, there's a group somewhere doing something. Now people are seriously looking at Kubernetes for enterprise stateful applications. It has gone mainstream. And that brings a whole new set of requirements around it. How do you secure that data, protect that data? All the things that we've done for decades around on-premises enterprise applications, how do we now start to apply those same things to these Kubernetes, these container environments that now have similar requirements? And then the last couple, you need visibility and insights. I already mentioned optimization. Being able to dynamically optimize what you have is important. Understanding what you have is important. Understanding what you're using on premises in Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, understanding that landscape is incredibly important, because if you don't have that dealt with up front, it'll get out of control very, very quickly. And then there's new consumption models. As we start to see people not wanting to invest in technology or own technology. So there's a lot of different, can we have this as a service, entire architectures as a service, which has been sort of driven by the cloud. So these are the things that I'm hearing, and I'm sure a number of these, not all of them, are things that you're probably having to go through as well. We believe that to get this right, you need to be planning it up front. You need a plan in place, and we believe that an effective strategy can be look at how do you put a data fabric together. It's what's been driving our roadmap for the last 10 years or more. So I think we're in a very good position to help people do this. But when we thought about what would be important to people as they think about a data fabric, freedom of choice, the ability to make technology investments today that don't preclude you from working with Amazon, Microsoft, Google, or working with Amazon today and then choosing to work with Microsoft or Google in the future. Have that as a part of your plan. You may only be Microsoft today. I can guarantee that Amazon will be part of your future, and potentially Google will be part of your future as well. So have that design point in mind up front of how are you going to, as you build out your future ready infrastructure, how are you going to offer freedom of choice? How are you going to make sure it's simple? It's all getting complicated. Not because the pieces are complicated. Each piece is quite simple, but they're all different. So complexity is starting to creep back in again. So how are you going to ensure that you're bringing simplicity to these multi-vendor, multi-cloud environments where everything that you do is slightly different? And that also applies to protection. How are you going to protect, recover, encrypt, secure, deduplicate, provide compliance in a hybrid multi-cloud world? Sure, each cloud probably offers it, but it's all different again. And like I said before, insights and optimization. This was never intended to be a NetApp pitch. If you thought NetApp were a storage company coming into this talk, then what I would like you to go away with is thinking that maybe NetApp has tools, technologies, solutions, and partnerships that could help you build your data fabric. But I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. So I think really from my point of view, I don't like to end with the thank you slide. I thanked you at the beginning. I would like to leave you with this, which is just a thought about what would your data fabric look like? What would that enable you to achieve for the future? And how will you unlock the best of cloud for your business? And on that note, I will say thank you very much for giving me the time. Thank you very much, Bo, and to the team at Evolving for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today. And I will hand back to you guys.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you for joining us here today. I really appreciate it. And I think for our attendees that have been joining us here this morning, we've talked a couple of times around, cloud is not a place. Cloud is a set of disciplines. And those disciplines need to enable your business. And I think the second to last chart you had up there, Matt, around freedom, simplicity, protection, insights. I mean, that's key to what we've been seeing our clients need and how we're trying to engage and work with clients. So, and your comments are around NetApp and the investments that you're making. You're on that journey with us, and we really do appreciate your partnership, and we appreciate you being with us today.